Alright, welcome to Lesson 6, Factoring with the lead coefficient of a equals 1 and a greater than 1. Now this is only the first part of Lesson 6, and we're just going to focus on a equal to 1 because it's pretty easy compared to a greater than 1. So we'll just take it nice and slow. So to start off with, we have this x squared plus bx plus c. Now because a equals 1, we don't actually have to write in the a there. If there's 1, we don't have to write it. So we know that b and c are integers. So they're going to be any of the positive numbers, any of the negative numbers. Now we've seen this factored form here before, except you saw with different letters. It's the same thing. X plus p times x plus q. And that's the factored form of any quadratic, where p and q are numbers. And I left this where here off. There's something that goes here. And it's to help us find out what p is and what q is. And to help us figure that out, I have this example here. We have x squared plus 9x plus 14. Well, the factored form of that is this. And looking at this and using this and looking at the p and the q, we can figure out something about how to get back from here to here, which would help us go from here to here. So I want you to look at this, look at these two, and look at the p and the q and kind of see maybe where it came from. Can you see if there's anything that they might have in common? So go ahead, pause the video and do that now. Okay. So this x plus p times x plus q, where? This stipulation has to happen. If you add p plus q, that's going to equal b. And if we look here, here's our p, which is a 2, and here's our q, which is a 7. 2 plus 7 equals 9. Well, right here is our 9. It's our b. And p times q is going to equal c. So p and q again, if we do 2 times 7, we get 14. Well, that's what c is. So that's where p and q can help us, because we need to follow these stipulations here in order for it to be right. And these stipulations are also helpful for us in solving. So, here's an example of how to solve. The first thing I always want you to do whenever you do this until you get really good at it is I want you to write down what A is, B is, and C is, just so you can know. So here our A is equal to 1, our B is equal to, so it's the number in front of X. If there's no number there, we assume it's a 1, and this minus sign goes with it. So it's a negative 1. Oops. I meant to erase this. And then our C is a negative 12. And this is very important, because we know that our P plus Q has to equal B, and we need to know that P times Q equals C. So how do we figure out what our P and Q is? Well, what you do is you take A times C. And this is what we're going to do every time, even when A is greater than 1. We're going to do A times C. So we get 1. Actually, we're going to do the absolute value, of A times C. So we're going to do the absolute value of 1 times negative 12, which gives us the absolute value of negative 12, which is just 12. We always want this number here to be positive. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at all the factors of 12. So I'm going to write 12 here. And we're going to look at all the factors starting with 1. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And these choices right here are all of our choices for P and Q. Our P and Q is going to be one of these pairs. So what we have to look at now is which one of these will work to fit P plus Q and P times Q. So the more difficult one is that P plus Q. Now, you notice here that these are all positive. Well, we can change the sign. Like if we needed a -1 and a plus 12, we can do that. Or if we needed a +1 and a -12, we can do that as well. So we can change the sign of them if we need to. So P plus Q. I need two things to add together to give us a -1. So I'll start here at the top, this 1 and 12. Well, there's no way I can get 1 and 12 to equal -1, so that choice is out. 2 and 6, if we look at it and think, there's no way we can get that. So that just leaves 3 and 4. So I need to add a 3 and a 4 together to get a -1. Well, that only works if I have a +3 and a -4. Because we know that +3 minus 4 equals -1. So I know I'm going to have a +3 and a -4 as my P and Q, and I need to double check, is this together -12? And it is. So when I figure out what my P and Q are, we put X plus 3 times X minus 4 equals 0. And it doesn't really matter right now which order you have these in. You can put the minus, you could switch these around and however you want. It doesn't really matter. So now we have X plus 3 times X minus 4 equals 0. And now we have a problem like we worked on in the last lesson. We use our zero product property. And we know that X equals -3, or our X is going to equal 4. So we're going to take this new idea, we're going to turn it into this factored form, this idea that we've known and that we've worked with before, and then we're just going to solve. So here is an example I want you to try with your group. So go ahead, pause the video, and try this. Alright, and here is the solution to this. So go ahead, pause the video, look this over with your group. Alright, here's the second example I want you to try, and I want you to notice something here. It's not set equal to 0. Well, you cannot factor until it's set equal to 0. So you have to do something to move that -5 over so it becomes a 0. So think about that as you pause the video and work with your group now. And here's the solution. What you needed to do is you had to add that 5 to the other side before you could try to factor. So it always has to be set equal to 0 before you factor. So if it's not, you need to manipulate the equation so that it is. Then you'll also notice that whenever we did our factors, that we got two negatives. I know in all the previous examples we had a positive and a negative. It's not always going to be like that. You can have positive, negative, negative, positive, two positive numbers or two negative numbers. It's just all depending on making sure that P plus Q equals B and P times Q equals C. So, one last example for you to try, so go ahead and try that with your group now. And here's the solution to this example, so go ahead, pause the video, review this with your group, And after that, the video is over.